She's a rock star marketer, a reality TV host, and sought-after speaker. And she has a mission to revitalize small towns across the USA. I am so excited and thrilled to interview our guest today, Amanda Brinkman. We're going to roll a quick film today, just a little bit about her.
I've seen over and over that when companies lead with their purpose, they don't just sell more products, they win the loyalty and hearts of their customer. How can your company do well by doing good?
I always have a saying that you can't teach somebody something unless you entertain them. Amanda's entertaining, Amanda's a great speaker, and she's a lot of fun.
Amanda, great to have you on the show this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Live in studio, we have Amanda Brinkman.
Amanda Brinkman. Amanda Brinkman. All right, Amanda, so tell us, this is apparently your baby.
She is a tremendous dynamic speaker, somebody who not only has the experience and understands their stuff, but is engaging as well. That is a very difficult package to come by, and Amanda Brinkman has that in spades.
We were taking a portion of our paid media and investing in content, all with the hopes that we could stretch our spend. And that's when the small business revolution was born. We reached 12 times more people than we would have reached if we had invested that same amount of money we invested in the films in paid advertising.
Amanda Brinkman, I think, brings an excitement to all that she does, and she has that kind of glow in her eyes or twinkle in her eyes, and she can sit back and say, hey, websites, SEO, cost per click, retargeting, LinkedIn. She has a breadth of knowledge in a lot of these core areas, so I'd say Amanda's legit.
The lines are blurring between giving back and simply giving. Every company started for a reason. It was solving a problem. It's about getting back to the roots of how you make your customers' lives better.
Well, I am so thrilled to have Amanda on our show. You know, being a small business owner myself, my grandfather was one, and my father was one, owning a small poultry business in Omaha, Nebraska. I know you're up there in the Minneapolis area, correct? And I'm just thrilled to have you. Welcome, Amanda.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here.
I know I just love the show, that you're doing. And I would love for you to share, reading about you. I follow you on all the social media, of course, and watched all of the episodes. And then hopefully, I know you're on season 5, you just wrapped that up. And then hopefully one day soon you'll have a small town here in Texas. But tell us, all about Deluxe and how you went about, your TV show.
Yeah, so Deluxe has been in the business of helping small businesses and financial institutions for over 100 years. And many people, when I joined the company about 6 years ago, many people knew the company just for our legacy, which is in the check printing space. So we invented the personal checkbook. But over the years, we had really evolved alongside our customers. So we were doing new and innovative things in the fintech space, as well as a whole host of support services for small businesses. So we can help small businesses market their business, grow their business, move money, payroll, technology under beds, and people just really didn't know us for that. And so I'm just a big believer that as companies, as you saw in the reel, that you can do well by doing good. And so for us, doing well would mean making sure more people realize the breadth of services that Deluxe provided for small businesses. But on our way to doing that, we could do good for the very community that we were serving. So rather than just doing an ad campaign that talked about our website building tool or our payroll services or our e-check services, instead, it just felt right to go out and truly create a movement and utilize our platform to really shine a spotlight on the importance of supporting small businesses within our communities. And so we went across the country and told the stories of 100 small businesses during the course of our 100th anniversary, our 100th year. And it was really just about these stories. It wasn't at all about us as a company. It was really just about celebrating small businesses and recognizing the important role they play within our communities. And then since then, it has evolved into a TV show, which is on Hulu and Prime Video. It also streams online at smallbusinessrevolution.org for those that don't have Hulu or Prime. And each season, we revitalize a different small town's main street, and we do it through its small businesses. And that all came from when we were going across the country telling these stories, that we recognize that nowhere are small businesses more under siege and struggling than in our small towns. And so we wanted to take our movement a step further and not just tell their stories, but actually go in and help them. So essentially each season is about a different small town's main street. And each episode is about an individual small business. And you see us helping them with different resources they need to run their business. We still tell the story of the small business. You fall in love with the mission behind why they run it. But you see us helping them with their marketing and their finances and their operations so that they can get back to doing what they love about their business. And we always say the show is one part education. You can certainly learn a lot about running a small business. One part entertainment, because we really do keep it light and heartfelt. And then one part affirming or affirmational. I think small business owners can see themselves in these stories, and it's a relief to know that they're not alone in the things that they're struggling with.
I think it's great, all of the information that you provide, being here in Dallas. I do commercial real estate and work with a lot of small business owners and get to see, I know how important it is to find their perfect location to make it successful, but watching so many of your different episodes to learn about, like you said, all the marketing and everything that goes into running a small business. Did you grow up wanting to own your own small business, or how did you have such a passion for this of helping small business owners?
Well, I think I have always been someone who has understood the importance of shopping locally and keeping your dollars within your community. But it was actually through this work that has really developed this passion in me. I think one of the things I've learned in working so closely with small businesses all these years now is just how brave you have to be an entrepreneur. I mean, you can attest to it, running your own business. It's every day, the success of your business is completely reliant on the amount of energy and work you personally put into the business. For those of us who work in corporate environments or work for other people, we certainly feel that our jobs are important and meaningful and stressful, but we understand that we have an infrastructure of other people around us also contributing to the success of that company. And so I really have just such an appreciation for entrepreneurs and how brave and tenacious you have to be, especially this year. This is a year that no one saw coming, with challenges that, I always try not to say the word unprecedented because it's becoming overused, but that is the best word for it. I mean, no one has ever experienced something like COVID in terms of a pressure on their business. And so I just have such a respect for and love for small businesses. And so if I can use my career and my work to shine a spotlight on small businesses and create a movement around inspiring people to support them, then that is something that I feel very proud to be able to do.
I know. I think you've definitely done a great job of showcasing. I like seeing all the new ones you're doing now that are on your Instagram. You're featuring some of the small businesses now, correct, on a new campaign you're doing with the heart?
Oh, yes. Oh, thank you for noticing. Yes. So as we are trying to finish filming season 5, which is taking place in Fredonia, New York, we wanted to do something immediate that was very specific to COVID. So season 5 will very much be about how businesses can really work on their marketing and communications and pivot their business in the midst of this crisis. So season 5 will very much be about COVID. But until that is launching in the fall, we wanted to do something really immediate. And we were just noticing, as we always have, that small businesses were just stepping up for their communities in such disproportionate ways. It was just instinctive to them that if I have materials or workforce or time or energy or resources to be able to do something to help other people right now, then I must do it. And so we wanted to celebrate that and share those stories, do some fundraising for the efforts that these small businesses were doing within the communities. So we launched an ancillary series called Small Business Big Heart, where we feature entrepreneurs who are fighting for their communities and giving back in really incredible ways. So everything from, a family-owned furniture store in Austin, Texas that formerly made custom furniture that quickly pivoted to creating medical grade masks and isolation gowns for frontline workers. If you recall, in the first couple of weeks, PPE supplies were in dire shortage, especially for the medical community. So they just pivoted right away and figured out how to do that around the clock, and just unbelievable. To restaurants that are giving away food, to distilleries that have completely, renovated their line that was formerly making, different alcohols, to now be making hand sanitizer, and the list goes on. And so we tried to highlight a whole variety of businesses that were just doing really incredible things that we thought were wonderful and so instinctive of entrepreneurs, and then celebrate them in those stories and interview them in an interview series, and then also drive the viewers to a fundraising page to support their efforts.
I love reading, and it's a great resource to learn about other business owners. What advice would you give people that are starting a new business? I feel during this time, there's definitely people looking, what can I pivot, or what can I do next? I know cash flow. I actually know Linda McMahon, who was the head of the Small Business Administration and on her advisory board. And knowing cash flow is always key for these small business owners. And now, what do you see, or what advice would you give to small business owners listening?
I think definitely, whether it's in the midst of this crisis or anytime you're thinking about starting a business, there's a couple of things one wants to take into account, since you're asking. The first one is you have to really love the thing you're going to be doing, because as Pam and I were talking about earlier, you will live and breathe this business, and it will demand things of you that you never knew. And you have to just care so much about the product or the service or the community that you're serving through that business, so much that it makes it worth it during the tough times. The second thing that I think is really important is that you actually have to also really enjoy running a business, or at least be prepared for the realities of running a business. So many entrepreneurs start a business because they are good at something, perhaps a craft or a trade or a service offering, and forget that that's a part of what you do as a business owner, but it's also running the books, marketing the business, employing other people, thinking about things like real estate and who's going to clean the space, and all the other things it takes to actually run a business. And so you don't have to love those pieces of it, but you certainly have to go in with eyes wide open that that's a piece of it that you're going to need to do as a business owner. The third thing is around what you just mentioned, Pam. It's really important to think through cash flow. Oftentimes, now in this environment, it might not be as possible, but oftentimes I encourage people to save up personally at least a year of personal living expenses before you start the business, so that as the business ebbs and flows in the beginning, and if it doesn't start producing profit right away, which most businesses don't until the third year, you don't want to create additional stress on top of it by fearing whether or not you're going to be able to buy food or pay your mortgage. And so it's really important to make sure that you not only are thinking through cash flow of the business, which is something that might be on people's minds, but also I always encourage people to think through your own personal cash flow as well. And then the fourth thing I would say is, and again, this applies whether or not it's now or at any time, but right now the insights might be a bit different, is making sure that you are delivering something that a community truly needs. How are you changing someone's life, or making it easier, or making it better, and being really crystal clear on that target audience and that need. It'll make your marketing more effective. It'll make your targeting more effective. It'll make your product more differentiated the more specific it is. If we try to serve everyone with everything we make, you start mattering that you don't have as much poignant relevancy to a specific audience. So being really laser focused on who you're trying to reach with this product and what problem it solves.
Yeah, that's great advice. I was in corporate America for a long time, and then 14 years ago started my own business, and now I love Monday, so that's always a good sign. But just how you mentioned, you have to love and breathe it every day. It was hard to give up that 6-figure income, but having my own business, I truly love too. I know, marketing, as always, you've worked for some amazing companies and launched some of what do you think are some of the top marketing secrets that you could share that I know on your website, on Deluxe website and Small Business Revolution website, both have great resources that I've really been using, even on Twitter, have a lot of. But what do you think are some of the top marketing, that are working with social media today?
Well, first of all, social media is a great place to start. And Pam, you do a phenomenal job in social media, I must say. So you've been extremely engaged with the work we're doing around the Small Business Revolution. We truly appreciate that. And I think you're a great example of someone who really uses the platform to not only grow their business brand, but also their personal brand. And so I applaud your efforts.
I know I'm always thank you so much. I'm always surprised of how many businesses forget that you can use social media.
Yeah, I think it seems intimidating to a lot of businesses, because especially if it feels like it's, if you're from a generation where maybe social media hasn't been as much as kind of your personal habits, it feels intimidating to try and figure out those social media platforms. But they really are such a great way to be pretty specific about who you reach with your business, and a really great way to personalize a business. Because the biggest differentiator as a small business is that personal nature. The fact that people can understand exactly who they are buying from, not a big corporate entity with no face. This is truly, you can understand the business and the family behind who you're supporting with your purchase. And social media allows you to just pull back that curtain and be very clear about that in the way you communicate and what you post. And so social media is a really great vehicle for really leveraging that differentiator as a small business, that there is truly an owner behind it. I would say to your original question, I think that some of the biggest things that we see small businesses universally, some of the I won't even call it mistakes. This is how much we try to do everything with heart, because mistakes feels too harsh. But some of the opportunities that we see small businesses have that they're not taking advantage of is, first and foremost, not having a website. You'd be surprised, it's still about 50% of businesses in 2020 don't have a website. And a lot of times it's because they're relying on a social media, like a Facebook page or their Google listing, some other resource, and they don't feel like they necessarily need that website. But the number one thing you need to make sure you're doing is that you're findable online. That is always a really grounding principle as a business. But for sure right now, when your website and your digital presence is your actual storefront, for the foreseeable future as we go through this crisis. So first and foremost, making sure you have a website. It doesn't have to be elaborate. If you don't want to have it have e-commerce functionality, it doesn't have to right away, but you need to have some sort of landing spot where the internet can find you in order to return your business against search queries. And that leads me to my second point. I mean, search is the name of the game. We all do it personally. And we know that over 70% of ways in which people find businesses is through a search engine. So we want to make sure that we are doing everything we can to show up when those search engines are out there crawling websites, looking for those kinds of, looking to respond to those search queries. So you want to make sure that you have that website so they can find you. Number two, you want to make sure that you are claiming your directories, directory listings, as well as your business listings. So thinking through things like your Google listing, your Yelp listing, TripAdvisor, whatever kind of directories make sense for your businesses, as well as your online listing, and making sure you're claiming those and populating them with the right hours, qualifiers of it as a business, etc. I go into much more depth on this in the show, so I'm trying not to go into too much detail. Because it can get kind of complicated, but really making sure you're minding your online presence around directories and listings. So website, directories, and listings. And then to your point, Pam, really making sure that you're using social media to reach your audiences. It's a really great way to have a two-way dialogue, to test out ideas, to see what's working and resonating, and just to really allow for your customer service to be on display to everyone. And so having those three things really sorted out helps search engines find you, it helps people find you, and it really allows you to tell your unique story.
I know there's so much to do, and I, as a business owner, always seeing what the latest, greatest, is there, that you can keep promoting your business. I wanted to tell you, I love your background. It is just beautiful. I can tell just by, doing research on you and the show how creative you are. You must be up 24 hours just thinking, being a creative person, huh?
Well, that's kind of you to say. You mean my background here,
Right.
this wallpaper?
Yes.
It was an accident. It's the only wall in our whole house that has wallpaper. And I had to quickly do a video for social media. And I was like, quick, I don't have time to stage a background just the right way. I'll just do it in front of this wall. And then people gave me very kind feedback like you have, saying that was cool. And so now I am working off of a card table in our basement. My laptop is propped up on 2 shoe boxes. This is quite a glamorous studio I have going on here. So it's nice of you to say that. It's all in the appearance. Everything below the computer is pretty suspect. So, but thanks for saying that about the creativity. I do consider myself to be a creative person and find great value in that, and think that I have been called to use that creativity to, try and do goodness in this world. But I have to say, during COVID, it's tough to get creative. I've talked to a lot of people who have affirmed that feeling for me, that it's just because there's this kind of unrealized stress with it all. It's tough to get going on things. You feel like each day you're just trying to kind of survive this new reality, that it's hard to think of new things. I keep thinking I'm going to get to the other side of this crisis and wish that I had written a book or done some other big monumental thing. But each day goes so fast, and I'm having a hard time kind of accessing that creativity right now, but doing my best.
Yeah, speaking of books, is that on your bucket list?
Yeah, maybe. I think, I think so. I think I have some things to say. I think it's about organizing it in the right way. I think a lot of people have asked me if I would write a book about small business, and I think that I certainly could and would. I think the show delivers a lot of what the book would deliver, and so I feel like that content for me is out there already. I think what I have some things to say around is how tough it is to be a mom, and to be a highly driven mom. I think when you first have a child, it takes a little while to recalibrate your new identity. And I think a lot of moms are suffering from, specifically now during this crisis, wearing all the hats and doing all the things. And I think that the thing that falls off of your list is self-care. We're not going to let up on our career and being driven there and accomplishing things there, because that is such a core part of our identity. And I applaud us for hanging on to that. We want to be the best possible moms and partners that we can for our families. We want to be involved in the community, and we want to be doing goodness in the world, and all these other things. Maybe we have demands from caring for our parents or for other friends. And so the list obviously goes on. And now during COVID, now we're taking back on all the laundry and the cooking and everything else. And the thing that falls off the list, I find, is, taking time for yourself, mentally, physically, emotionally. And so I've got some hacks for it, but I think there's more work to be done around how do we help moms take their identities back.
I love that idea. I know, being a mom, we have 2 boys in college, and they both came home in March. My husband and I, we thought we were empty nesters. That lasted for a short time, and they're back going to college, one San Diego State, and then the other one University of Oklahoma. So we'll be empty nesters again. But I know what you mean. I cannot believe how much I've been cooking and need some self-care. Thank goodness that I have to work out every single day. How about yourself, or your self-care?
I'm working on it, but again, like a true woman, I'm multitasking it. So I've taken back up running, which I'm pleased with. I had taken a few years off from that and was focusing on other exercise sources like kickboxing and some other things. But I'm really glad that I've gotten back to running. But I will also, I try to get outside, obviously, to do it. So I'm trying to get my fresh air intake for the day, my exercise, and then I'm trying to listen to podcasts that really challenge me intellectually. So again, I can't just go out and do one thing. I've got to make sure I'm getting my exercise, my outdoor fulfillment, as well as mental development all at the same time. But I really look forward to that time every day. And so I'm trying to really always protect that no matter what, because it's pretty easy. Again, even though I feel like I'm mindful and self-aware of not sacrificing that, it's so easy to all of a sudden be like, today would be an easy day to skip. I've got these other 3 things that are more urgent.
We're probably a lot alike in that driven capacity, because I'm the exact same way when I'm out there walking, running, listening to podcasts, multitasking, figuring out what for everything going on too. And I know it's just crazy out there, just trying to keep day by day is the new thing. And I also have to ask you, I read that you like Twizzlers. Do you like Twizzlers? Is it red or black?
I used to I do still like them. But yes, thank you. You're very good at your research. Yes, in one interview years ago, I said that my favorite candy was pull and peel Twizzlers, which is true. But it's so funny whenever I come back from a speaking engagement, or if we're visiting these towns, it's so nice other people find that article that you found, and then they'll bless me with them. So I usually come back with a couple packages of them. So it's of great delight to my daughter that I said that once in an interview, because now she always gets a good stash of Twizzlers when I come home.
That's one of my favorite candies too. I actually bought some yesterday, and then I looked today to find them, and they were gone. So.
You got those two, yeah. Those two boys, I'll take them.
I know. Well, I just loved having you on the show, and I'm so glad you responded. I love what you're doing for the communities. I give my community back a little bit too. I'm on the zoning board of adjustments for our community. And so I love small businesses. I just love everything you're doing. And I greatly, greatly appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to talk with us today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And thank you for using your platform for good for other people. You lift up so many great stories, and you're doing so much beyond just the industry that you're in. And I think that's really commendable. So it was an honor to be here today.
Well, thank you. I know we have that people can reach out to you definitely on Instagram and Twitter and different social media. And we've provided the links for Deluxe and Small Business Revolution to definitely watch those. So thank you so much, Amanda.